That buzzing in the sky ain't no bee. On this week's show, how Germany lets the US do what it likes at Ramstein with one M, while still pursing its lips and making disapproving noises. Meanwhile, Dr. Drosten is unhappy with us, all going to Einkaufsmalls, and Markus Söder, the Bavarian Bandit, jockeys for position. It's Megan's Megacan.
Evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Megan's Megacan. I'm Megan. We are here in partnership with Ex-Berliner magazine, and I'm also here virtually, if not physically, with Konrad Werner.
Hello,
Konrad.
Hello.
Literally out.
You always leave a pause for me after Konrad Werner, and then you say hello, Konrad, in the pause.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter.
It's fine.
We'll work it out.
It is slightly worrying that we cannot get that right.
We can't quite get the...
How are you?
I am fine. I have been sunning my gams all day on the balcony.
Sunning your gams on the balcony?
Yeah, it's like nice.
That sounds lovely.
I do home office on the balcony now, and I sometimes wear shorts. Anyway.
That's nice. It's unseasonably warm. Anything else exciting happened to you this week?
No. I have no stories. I have not been outside and not done anything. Oh, I had a birthday.
You did? That's what I was kind of hoping you were going to mention. I didn't
forgot about that.
Out you as a Geburtstagskind, but...
Yeah, it was my birthday, yes. That was quite good.
You haven't managed to come and pick up your present yet, though, which is... Obviously, no. I've already told you what it is.
I'll come by and get my present. But then I'd have to walk around with it outside for a bit. And then people will know.
Well, you will do that with pride.
I'm sure I will. Yeah.
I have purchased for Konrad a tote bag with Christian Drosten's face on it. I'm very excited about it. It matches my t-shirt.
Is it the one that says hope with it? Is it that one? Has it got hope written on it in that street artist style?
Yeah.
The traditional street artist style.
It's in the style of something, but I can't remember what it is. There's a few things like that.
Well, I look forward to filling that up with eggs and Megacans for my shopping.
What else would you possibly need?
That's the main thing I buy. And oats. Should we have a drink?
Yeah. Oh God, yes. I was like, what? Why is this feeling so like...
Why is this going on for so long?
Oh my God. Yes. What are you drinking?
I got a special one. Look at this.
Ooh.
It's an absolute mixed, and it has got a guarana in it. So vodka and guarana, whatever a guarana is.
I've had that before.
It includes caffeine.
Of it.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I have to say, I mean, I'm trying not to be, being like, yeah, let's see the positives in, Corona, because it's fucking awful. But one of the small moments of joy that I have now is that I don't know what Megacan you're going to have, because I don't buy them and bring them to your house. And it's just like this little frisson of excitement as you branch out into the world of Megacan purchasing. I've gone with a classic in these uncertain times. I'm just having a Jack Daniel's whiskey and cola.
Lovely.
I think whiskey is Jack Daniel's. I don't think it qualifies as a whiskey, and that is actually like a completely unfounded opinion that I will stand by.
Yeah. It's
Cheers. Let's drink.
Cheers.
Sorry. Oh God.
Oh, that is really weird.
Yeah, it's like a vodka and Red Bull is what you're drinking.
Brilliant.
Which was like this urban legend that we had growing up as children. Like if you drank, as teenagers, like if you drank vodka Red Bull, then you were like really risking your health because the caffeine and the alcohol was telling your body to do different things.
You can get Red Bull and Coke in a can now. And you could...
Yeah.
And can't you get Red Bull and vodka in a can?
No.
There's no Red Bull Megacan.
Because of the previously mentioned science that I just told you about.
Why hasn't Red Bull decided to start doing Red Bull vodka cans? Why is that? They should.
Well, I'd imagine they'd love to, but they're not allowed for lots of different things. Too many kids drink energy drinks, I think. It's basically a children's market.
Right. It would be difficult to police. You know what else is difficult to police? The US drone war is also difficult to police.
There we go.
No one polices the US drone war.
That sounded like a pro-US drone war slogan you're going to get on a t-shirt. I'm going to see you in the next memes coming from the States. You'll just be there. No one polices the US drone war.
No, it is a completely unregulated area of violence. And we live in a world where the United States can basically kill anyone they like at any time without repercussions via their drones. And they proved this on January the 3rd when they murdered a man called Qasem Soleimani. This story has become rather forgotten in the last few weeks.
Why?
But you might remember that in January, a war nearly started.
I do remember that vaguely, yes.
For a while, we thought there was going to be a war between America and Iran. And
yeah, it was terrifying. And this is why I was a bit of a dick when the whole COVID thing happened, because there's only so much panic. You got to pick your panics.
You got to pick your panic. But that was a terrifying time for about a week because Iran retaliated, you might recall, and flung some missiles at US forces in Iraq. Because this guy was really important. This guy, Qasem Soleimani, he was one of the top leaders in Iran. It was killing killing a minister or something, but he was a head of a military. He was a military leader. Anyway, where all this is leading to is that that strike probably was relayed. The signal steering that strike was probably relayed via the Ramstein Air Force Base in a place called Ramstein, which is not just a band. Sometimes it has one M. And when it's got one M, it is the place in Western Germany that is one of the biggest and most important US Air Force bases outside the United States. Loads and loads of military personnel there. And what they also have is a data hub, a data kind of thingy.
Convincing you said data hub. Just go with that.
It's got a data hub. Hang on, I'm looking up for the exact word for what it is. It is a distributed common ground system. And that relays intelligence data from the Middle East to the United States, and they don't have that many of them, the United States, around the world, and one of them is in Ramstein. And this is why, because we know this, and we know this because there was a whistleblower a few years ago, an American whistleblower, Brandon Bryant. He was a camera operator on one of these drones. He came out and he said Germany is vital to the US drone war, and effectively nothing that America does with its drones could be done without Germany's tacit consent. This all came out a few years ago, and last year there was a compensation trial involving relatives of victims of the Yemen drone war in Germany, and the court in Münster ruled that it is not good enough for Germany just to say, we don't know what happens here, this is none of our business, this is just America, because Germany has jurisdiction over Ramstein. And under the German constitution, Germany is obliged to uphold international law on its own soil. So on its own soil, anything that happens in Germany, the German government is obliged to make sure that international law is adhered to. And Germany was clearly not doing that with the drone wars and with Yemen. So since last year, Germany has to it's a bit vague because what it says is it just says we have to find out, apprise ourselves of what is going on there, and then that's quite hard for the government to figure out what that exactly means. How do you ever find out what is going on in the US Air Force Base? And of course the German government says, well, we are constantly in dialogue, blah 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 blah. But then on January the 3rd this year, the Americans go and murder an Iranian leader and nearly spark a world war, and Germany would have been partly responsible for that. Now, in February, a group of left party MPs decided we will do something a bit controversial, and we will press accessory to murder charges against Angela Merkel and several members of her cabinet. Basically, everyone recognized at the time that this was slightly over provocative, and it was a very political gesture. And a lot of people accused them of, using criminal law to try and make a political point, which is what they kind of were doing. And in fact, it was controversial enough for members of the left party leadership to distance themselves from this. So there was actually a slight rift in the left party leadership over this, of whether this was a good tactic or not, or whether we should have done that. Anyway, earlier this week, it emerged that the federal prosecutors, surprise, decided not to pursue charges of accessory to murder against Angela Merkel, because that would have been mad. And they did have to write up. They did have to write a letter to these left party MPs and explain why. And they just said that basically said that it would be impossible to prove, because for an accessory to murder charge, you have to have an individual, under criminal law, you have to have a crime that was committed by an individual, and you have to accuse them. And it's just really complicated. You have to prove it beyond all doubt that someone has committed a crime, and then you got to prove that you could have prevented that crime from happening. So it was an accessory to murder by neglect. So if you know someone is going to murder someone and you don't do anything, that is a crime. Right. So that was all dropped. But it was an interesting case, because constitutionally Germany is still under this first court ruling, which says that we have to they can't just do nothing. And now Germany has appealed, the German government has appealed this ruling, and it is just a bit controversial. And in fact, what is interesting is the German government itself says that the drone war is illegal. They at least question. They don't say it's illegal, but they say they question the legality of it. Like when the Soleimani murder happened in January, the German government said in a statement, the foreign ministry said, America has not provided the evidence to say that Soleimani's murder was justified, because Trump and Pompeo said that Soleimani was actively planning attacks on US forces or whatever. But he didn't have any evidence for that. He didn't offer any evidence, and that wasn't no one really decided that wasn't a big deal, providing evidence for that. And Germany said that. So Germany kind of itself questioned the legality of this, which means that Germany is also responsible for what happens. If it also believes that this was not legal, it should have done something at Ramstein. So that's what happened this week.
Oh, God. When you said we had a non-corona related story, I got all excited.
Sorry.
And then I remembered that it was a horrible... that the point of this podcast is to take my happy Friday night mood and shit all over it with... What was it you said? It's legal, or it's possible for America just to murder anyone in the world. Get away with it.
Well, they're technically capable of that,
Yeah.
I don't want to defend the Iranian guy. Obviously, he was a military leader who'd probably killed loads of people. But
that's not the.
That's kind of not the point.
Here, but just you can't flout international law and not have evidence for.
Right.
Going in and doing a military operation against a foreign military leader without just because you think he's a really bad guy. And if he's a really bad guy, that still doesn't justify breaking that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Also, it's not really clear exactly what happens at Ramstein. Should make that clear too. Because it's all it is a relay. So the pilots of these drones, they sit in America. They all sit in this sort of bunker in America, and they wear flak jackets. And they steer these drones over the Middle East in wherever they are, Pakistan, or and they just murder terrorists. But the signals have to, because of the way the Earth is bent, the Earth is curved, the surface of the Earth.
What you say?
So they say that means that it's impossible for those signals to go direct from America, so that they have to have relay stations, and Ramstein is the most important one.
So it's like, I'm trying to kind of think of like an analogy, but it really is just kind of like Germany's being like, well, don't shoot the messenger, or we weren't really sure what's going on in the messages. We don't know.
Yeah.
But then they're also kind of being like super, like, you can't, as you said, on one hand say, okay, well, we question the legality of this action, and then be like, not really do anything about the fact that it was facilitated by technology on your soil.
Exactly, yeah.
This all seems like basic things. I mean, to be honest.
I know.
You're responsible for the shit that goes on in your house.
Exactly.
Be aware.
And also, it's a bit annoying because everyone's like Trump. Everyone says like he's really evil, and Merkel is like really, really popular at the moment because of other thing. But and she's often like they're often seen as like these two opposites in character. Yeah. But these sort of things show that the America's interests and are always seems to be aligned with Germany's interests, and Germany doesn't ever really does anything about it, even when Trump just decided to start a war. That must be a time where you could intervene in some way. But no, I don't know.
I think it's weird, and it's something that I kind of forget about continually, that there are these like massive there's a big US military presence within Germany, and like,
oh yeah,
weird. Is it weird?
Well, it's like part of NATO and sort of history from the war and everything. I mean, all the British soldiers have gone. The British soldiers are pretty much all gone. It's just the Americans.
Is what I mean.
Yeah, but there used to be loads of British soldiers too. But Americans are still here because of NATO, and I've been. It's fun. I went to a Deutsch Amerikanisches Volksfest on a US army base in Bavaria.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really fun.
It was fun. That sounds like exactly the kind of stuff I enjoy, actually.
Yeah.
I mean,
they have like Americans have a cookout. They called barbecues. They call them a cookout, and so it was like a big fair. But it was all organised by the families of all the military personnel there, all the soldiers and that. So it was like everyone. It was like loads of little barbecues, and then like tanks and stuff you could go and climb on for the kids, and military helicopters.
There's a lot to unpack there. It's very problematic, but I do quite like.
It was a slightly problematic military,
and I've known like various people who've grown up for several years in various. Military bases in Germany.
Yeah. And all the local Bavarians were there too. A few local Bavarians go and they have a good time. But it's very homely. The Deutsch Amerikanisches Volksfest.
No shit. You got to distract from the fact that they're freaking sending overhead is just going like, yeah, kill it, bomb it, whatever. And they're just like bratwurst in America. All these something else,
and they have their own little town there. It's like being in America when you go there. They have their own shops, and they use dollars, and they have to use the US Postal Service. Yeah. It's like a little American town.
It's very. I think it's also very isolated. It may well be very different now, and I think I've spoken to people who have different experiences. But my ex lived in Germany from the age of 5 to 10 on a military base, and then ended up living here. But didn't ever learn any German. Like from 5 to 10, he could have been pretty fluent. But he was like, no, we weren't educated off the base. We had a woman that would come in every week and teach them about German culture. But that was about it.
Oh, right. Yeah, I think those kids that grow up, the American kids that grow up on those bases, it's quite an isolated life that they lead, don't they?
I sort of get the feeling speaking to people like there's a little bit more integration now, but certainly back in the day, it was very much like, you know, you were, as you said, in this little like American thing, and you can do all your shopping there, and you never have to go and deal with the vagaries of conducting your life in Germany.
Elvis Presley. He only left the United States once in his life, and that was when he went to Germany in the army, and he went to Bavaria, went to Grafenwöhr. I think it was there. Might have got that wrong, but that was the only time he left the United States was to join the army in Germany.
That is an incredible fact.
Yeah. But anyway, next, should we have more news?
So Ramstein. So my takeaway from that is, don't try and distract yourself with other news. Still terrible, but also Germany, like, it's sort of out. Do the right thing.
Yeah, sort it out.
Am I gonna? No, I have faith. I have faith.
Good.
Things will happen. Thank you. All right, and one of the reasons I have faith is because of Mr. I think he is Herr Drosten. Herr Doctor? I don't know.
He's a professor.
We're going to talk about him. Can we please talk about him?
Yes.
I mean, I know I've already talked about him earlier, but...
Well, he is not happy with us. Us being the German people, not us on this podcast. Us being a society.
If that happened, I would die.
If he disapproved of Mead.
I would just... Oh, God. Yeah, okay. What? Yeah.
He thinks that we are taking this all a bit too lightly with the coronavirus, and we should stay in. And he is not happy with the way the states are unblocking their lockdowns.
Yes.
And what did he say on the podcast? On his podcast?
Well, this is my point, right? Because the only media about Drosten that I consume is his own lovely voice itself. And it seems to be that, like, it goes through his, like, very measured kind of, I just want to do this and this and this is important. Mind you, sometimes you can tell he's getting angry. And I think he gets as close to the edge. But has it been, like, amplified in the press? Being like, he's lost his temper?
Well, yeah, yeah. It wasn't. I didn't see a story saying Drosten loses it on live radio. It was more like...
my God.
The
fortitude of that man. Anyway, so what he actually said in the podcast was they were discussing basically, because as we've been talking about and as everyone is talking about, like, some of the measures are being like relaxed or loosened. And Drosten is thinking that this is probably not a good idea. He's making what seems to me like the entirely logical argument, like, yeah, but we're seeing these really kind of more not positive. I mean, things are still bad and people are dying, but not maybe like so drastic and awful. And there's not like this complete like, oh God, what's the word that I mean?
Well, he said we are squandering
the ICUs and the medical services are not completely like overrun.
Yeah.
They're still functioning and fine, more or less. But he's like, well, yeah, this is because like lockdown is kind of working. And so the particular point that he made, he was like, right, now you see the whole of the shopping malls, and I think he said Einkaufsmalls or something. You can imagine him just like by the Mall of Berlin and like Potsdamer Platz, just looking aghast. Because he's looking in there and he's just like, all of these are fully open now because all of these businesses are under 800 square meters.
Yeah. But obviously the whole of Mall of Berlin is not under 800 square meters, is it?
Obviously, but whatever way that's worked. And now he's like, the whole Einkaufsmalls. And then he said, he was like, and now I I really must, in exactly this tone of voice, give my opinion. I think we should question that.
You do a pretty good Drosten.
That's what he said.
You do a pretty good Drosten impression there.
It's because we're soulmates.
He just doesn't realise yet.
No, God, I'm being like such a creepy person. Such a creep. But anyway, yeah, he's not happy. But did this become like, I haven't read it, like, did this become like a media kind of thing? Were people talking about it?
I sort of noticed it, but yeah, there were a few stories saying that he's losing his temper. But he wasn't really losing his temper. He was just saying,
that's losing his temper. He's going to get a shock when he starts wanting me.
But he was more annoyed. He's not annoyed, but he's it's just interesting because like when Drosten started, when he was getting going with his podcast, he was very much like, okay, everyone, because everyone was panicking, saying we're all going to die, and everything, and he was very much like, I am a coronavirus expert. I invented the test for coronavirus, and I just want everyone to just go shopping as normal, wash your hands. Be careful. Don't go out as much as you can. He was like, he was a calm and reasonable voice, and he reassured many people.
That's what hooked me in.
Yeah, and he was very reassuring, and he very authoritative and very articulate, and that's why people liked him. And now he's a bit more because the mood has definitely tipped amongst the population, and people are very much more complacent now, and they feel like the worst is over. And now him and Merkel, in fact, are all saying, and Markus Söder, who we'll talk about in a minute, they're all saying, no, this is not over yet. We have got to sit this one out, stay home, stop touching each other, stop coughing and meeting in parks. And, so it's just like he's playing a slightly different role in our media landscape now. That's what I want to say.
It is interesting because he's obviously responding quite a lot to like sort of against his will, having to respond to like lots of public opinion and how the public mood is swaying. And it's very interesting just how we've gone from kind of panic to, and I think it's interesting on a personal level, like all the different things people are going through. Like I was definitely like a complete dickhead, like corona skeptic at the beginning. And now, somewhat ironically, I'm like, we all need to just keep to the measures and listen to Drosten. Oh, God. I'm not like panicking about it, but I'm like, it does kind of make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Markus Söder, though, he's on. What
are the others? So we've talked about Drosten. I feel like I wanted to say something else about him. I forgot what it is.
It'll come back to you later.
It'll come back to me.
We'll have time.
So Merkel is playing the role of kind of like everyone just sticks to the rules. She plays that role so well. That is her like Mutti Merkel, very cautious.
Yeah.
It's not out of character at all.
Well, it's the first time in her chancellorship where she can really be the scientist that she was trained as. She feels like, I am. This is her element. Like when she was that clip that went viral of her explaining how statistics work was really good.
That's good because my brain is not.
All about the infection rates. Like, what's the difference between 1.1 and 1.2?
I don't understand them, and they keep talking, and then it's in German, and I.
But that was a good bit, and then I think she's like, and she's like more popular than ever, almost more popular, not more popular than ever, but she's more popular than she's been for ages, and not only in Germany but abroad as well. And
which is why it's always good that you are here to remind me of how awful her government really can be, because I get very on board the like Mutti Merkel kind of like, oh, she's so comforting, la 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 la. I'm like, she's droning people. She's an accessory to murder, allegedly. Remember that, Megan.
Yeah. So
but what and then Söder also in that camp kind of
Camp Caution.
Camp Caution. Good.
And Söder has taken to wearing a face mask in public now with the Bavarian flag on it.
That's fucking brilliant.
Because he is the state premier.
Has it got the Bavarian flag on it, or is it in the colours of the Bavarian flag? Because if anyone is unaware, like the Bavarian flag is so pretty. It's that lovely one that you see on the Tegernsee Hell beer bottles, the pale blue and white checks.
Yeah. So yeah, the sort of the sort of checkerboard, blue and white.
I thought I'd got that wrong because your face was sort of being like, "What?" But I think it was just you saying "what" at my.
That's my normal face.
Bavarian flag.
Anyway, yeah, he's wearing that, and he is because I think that he is now, according to there was a few stories in the Times and in the foreign media as well, saying that he's surging ahead as the most obvious potential chancellor candidate for the CDU-CSU to follow Merkel, because Merkel is still officially not going to run in the next election, which is next September. So they are all still jockeying for position at the moment.
We could always change our minds, Merkel. No decision is final. No, like that is all fine. Because in my head, I'm going like, yeah, because I'm also camp caution. Söder and I are enjoying it's good because it reminds you, things are nuanced and people are not always like opposed to you and whatever, and there's different things. But I'm also just like, hopefully when all this is over and we can return to like actually talking about political things that are not this. I don't want Söder to be the chancellor of the country I live in. I don't want that. All the Bavarian flag masks in the world are not going to make up for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Camp Caution.
Yeah.
What's happening elsewhere? So on the fringes, what are the other team? Like team, let's get out of lockdown.
There's
team. Really,
it doesn't have the same ring to it as Camp Caution. There's like Team Economic Necessity. What do you call the other team? The team Profit Motive. Exit. Team Exit. Yeah. Armin Laschet has been called Mr. Exit. Armin Laschet is the state premier of North Rhine-Westphalia, the most populous of the German states, the largest one. Also a CDU, also previously a front runner to take over from Merkel. And
has he got a mask? Oh no, he's not wearing a mask because he's Team Exit. So he's like, this is horseshit.
Well, he was on the radio the other day saying that I don't take my advice for what I should do only from virologists. Of course, I will listen to virologists, but I also want to hear from other parts of society, i.e., businesses, and schools, for example. And he says that we should maybe weigh this thing.
To schools.
I don't know.
No.
So. And he is at loggerheads. He's with Merkel over this because he's quite powerful and she's more powerful. But so they've had to they've had a little bit of a run-in, which is unusual because if anything, he was one of her biggest allies in the whole refugee crisis time.
Well, isn't this shaking all of this up? And isn't that ironic? So if he was one of her allies in. Yes, I was about to say you need to drink more of that Megacan.
I finished
know you
it now.
Like it, but...
It's gone.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, well, I need to drink more wine. I'm quite drunk.
I'm flying here. It's like it is a vodka Red Bull, but in all but name. It's this thing. It's good. I can totally recommend it.
That is exactly what it is. Because remember my disappointment when I accidentally bought it one day. Anyway, so this is interesting because if Laschet, Mr. Exit, who I now totally disagree with because you do not risk people's lives for business, just give businesses more money. Unless maybe, right? Anyway, I don't know. Not my team. But if he was one of Merkel's allies in the refugee crisis, that would make me think that he would be more aligned. Like maybe I would want him more as CDU leader. It's almost like things have nuance and complications, and I need to learn to understand this and inform my political opinions based on stuff that isn't just whatever popped into my head a second ago.
Yeah, it's hard that though, isn't it? Because politics is so emotive. People get very emotional.
But everything's emotive. I can't think of anything that I don't have emotions about.
Really?
Yeah.
Anyway, should we wrap up there? On that note, we should like maybe have include our lovely commenter, Charlie.
Well, I was going to make that link because this is an exact example of where I need to learn to have more facts rather than just emotional response.
So last week we argued quite vehemently that hairdressers were being thrown under the coronavirus bus by being made to go back to work. But according to Charlie, our commenter on Explainer, who knows 2 haircutters personally, they are chomping at the bit to get back to work. One of them was actually called into an old folks' home for an emergency cut.
That I can well believe this. And first of all, what a lovely thing for somebody to actually leave constructive criticism, like feedback. It's so nice.
Yeah, that's the internet can be good after all.
Yeah.
And
so thank you, Charlie. But also, yes, 2 things. I was basing mine entirely on like anecdotal and not very wide-ranging anecdotal evidence. And obviously, I was also, even for this podcast, like quite pissed at the end of the last episode. So I'm 100% hold my hands up.
But he also...
This is why it's brilliant because, yeah, we all are learning here.
We're all in learning, yeah. But he also said that he also made the point that many people are struggling with their hair, and that in fact our hair has a lot to do with our mental well-being. I'm sort of paraphrasing what Charlie said, but he thinks that like everyone's talking about their hair, and the people actually feel good when their hair looks nice, and this is an important aspect of our mental well-being, and that is why hairdressers are actually on the list of essential services, or they were for a while. I don't know.
I am fully prepared to think because I had a somewhat sneaky haircut just before lockdown because obviously because of COVID-19 my hairdresser, who usually has no time ever, had some cancellations, and it has been lovely because my whole life now is just seeing myself like on a little screen on Zoom calls, and my hair's been quite nice, I think. So thanks, hairdressers, and thank you, Charlie, because I think that's... I wanted to ask you about your hair. Are you feeling the lack of hairdresser, Conrad?
No, I mean I need to go to the hairdresser, but I'll probably just do it in the bathroom on my own. I'll clip it.
Yeah, I think also a lot of people are giving themselves like home haircuts. About 50% of my students have appeared on video calls. About 50% of them turn the video on, and of them, quite a lot of them have new hairstyles. And I'm just like, oh, that looks nice. They're like, we're really bored.
Well, I'll probably just do a crew cut, buzz it all off like in the army.
I think you could go,
We'll tell the listeners next week. Thanks for listening. I'm trying to wrap up. You're supposed to be the host, but I'm trying to wrap up.
I'm really drunk. I'm so sorry, guys. Yes, thank you so much for listening. Thank you particularly for Charlie for commenting in such detail. Yeah, you should also comment, and please stay safe. Observe the measures. You too, Conrad, but I know that you do. You're very good.
Yeah, I don't like being near people anyway, so it works for me.
I feel like I was getting a bit relaxed last week. I'm locking myself down again.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, guys. Stay safe.
Have a lovely weekend.
That too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.